Hey there, welcome to episode 2, Robert's Butchered Paraphrase. I'm going to start with reading some scripture to you. This is Mark chapter 12, verses 28 through 30. This is from the easy to read version, or the ERV. One of the teachers of the law came to Jesus. He heard Jesus arguing with the Sadducees and the Pharisees. He saw that Jesus gave good answers to their questions, so he asked him, "Which of the commands is the most important?" Jesus answered, "The most important command is this: People of Israel, listen. The Lord our God is the only Lord. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength." A couple of things I'm going to lay down as background for you here. Number one, this is asked of Jesus before his death and resurrection. So salvation isn't in the picture yet. So basically, this guy is asking him, what is the most important thing to do? They lived by all the commands back then, the Levitical, the Deuteronomical, all that good stuff, all the hundreds and hundreds of commands and rules and ordinances and do's this and don't do's that and all kinds of other things. Next, this guy was a teacher of the law, so he was supposed to be one who knew it the most, sort of a professor of legal professor, I guess you could say in our terms, modern terms. He's supposed to know it inside and out and was responsible for teaching others. So he hears Jesus discussing these things with Pharisees and Sadducees, the leading scholars of this day. And this peasant carpenter is giving him great answers. So he decides either to test him or to find out for sure or what. But he asks him. And Jesus responds, of course, with, listen, O Israel, our God is the only God. We can only have one God in our life. It's either going to be us or it's going to be him. We're either going to be selfish or selfless. And as he continues on, when we choose to love him, we're supposed to do it with every bit of our being. And when we do that with every bit of our being, everything else comes naturally. Next week, we'll get into the second commandment he gives about loving your neighbors yourself and the story of the Good Samaritan. But right now, I'm going to concentrate on this first command. This is it. Love God with everything you have. Think of it, the best way we can describe is a significant other, a spouse. If you love them with your entire heart, soul, mind, and strength, their welfare is the most important thing to you. Their desires, their needs, everything, that is the most important thing to you, and yours comes second to theirs. You will do without to defer to them. Do we have this kind of love for God today, or do we just give him spare time, spare change? No, I'm too tired. I don't feel like it. I haven't had any time with the kids or the family, or my football game is on, or my basketball game, or the my favorite baseball team is playing. Are those more important? We say that those other things become idols, they become our gods, but quite honestly, we do them for selfish reasons. They're for us. It all boils down to us or him. We serve Satan and we serve ourselves, or we serve God. We love God. How do you learn to love somebody like that? You spend time with them. You're not going to suddenly have this thing about wanting to marry somebody that you never spent time with. I mean, you could, but there might be extenuating circumstances, and we won't even touch that. But before you decide to marry somebody, don't you spend time with them? A lot of time, as much time as you possibly can. And at some point, you make the decision you will spend the rest of your life with them. Excuse me. The weather. I'm going to blame it on the weather. I'm paying attention to the dog. Sorry, excuse me just a second. No, I'm not going to edit this. Find a spot, girl. Excuse me. Sit. Hey, sit. No, no, sit. Sorry. Their welfare becomes more important than yours. You spend time with them. But if we don't spend time with God, why don't we spend time with God? That's an even better question. Why don't we spend time with God? Why don't we want to spend time with God? Could it possibly be because we don't want to have to give up certain parts of ourselves? We don't want things that we've done exposed. We don't want Him to know. Well, He already does. How can He not? He knows everything. Is He going to condemn you? No, that's not His thing. Not yet, anyway. That's why He sent Christ to atone for all the things that you've done wrong. He wants the relationship, but He's not going to force you. You know, we were given free will, and if He forces us into the relationship and we don't have a choice, that's not a love relationship. That's just a robot. That's just doing what you have to because you're supposed to with no other choice. Do you want your kids to love you because they don't have any choice or because they want to? We have been brought up in a selfish society where we are taught that love of self is more important. We have to look out for ourselves. We have to look out for number one. We got to do this because nobody else will. That's just been the teachings, and it's bled over into the church. You know, all we have to do is quote go to church on Sunday. We'll be all right. And occasionally there's a drive to bring somebody with you. We'll get into the Great Commission later, and like I say, we'll get into the second command that He gives later. Excuse me, that was the dog licking the tripod. We just, we're not taught. We don't have any examples. You see preachers who are supposed to be teaching you to have a relationship with God, turning around and living a highly materialistic, life. Expensive vehicles, expensive clothing. Now, am I saying they should be dirt poor and have nothing? No. But just what do you need? If a $40,000 truck will do what you want, but you got to have the $90,000 truck so you can have something nice. I mean, 40,000 truck would get you around, and that other 50,000 could have gone to the kingdom, I suppose. But no, come and use God. Come and give these tithes, and He'll bless you. It's not come and give because you want to see the kingdom furthered and you want to see more people come to know God. You come and you give because you want material blessings for yourself, and that's selfishness. And that's not really wanting to know God, that's wanting to use God like a slot machine or something, like a bank account. We need to spend time getting to know Him, overcoming the fear of getting to know Him and what could possibly happen. Nothing bad. It could be good for eternity. This life isn't all there is, not this one here. There's more, and it's going to be forever. And down the road, a couple, 3, 4 billion years in eternity, this little 70 or 80 or 60 years that we live here is going to have been nothing. I want to encourage you to read, to pray, to seek God's face for yourself, to not be afraid. He sent His Son so that all the sins that you have, all the mistakes, all the screw ups, all the stupid that you ever had in your life are covered when you accept Him. Get to know Him.